Hello and welcome back to Books and Bubbles, the podcast where we discuss our current book obsessions while sipping on tasty drinks themed to our books. I'm Bethany.
I'm Maggie.
And I'm Paige.
And today we're talking about Freida McFadden's newest book, The Tenant. This book was wild. We're all huge Freida fans, so this is a really fun one for us. So Paige is going to go grab our first drink.
So for our first drink, I did a apple cider margarita. This was inspired by some tension between the roommates regarding some apples. So take a sip. Let me know what you guys think.
All right.
I'm a little nervous of this one after reading that book.
I know, right? Did you make these with
Fresh apple cider.
Okay.
Okay, that's tasty.
It doesn't taste rotten, so there's that.
Yeah, I'd be a good roommate. It's all good.
If you haven't had a chance to read this book yet, it's The Tenant by Freida McFadden, and this is a psychological thriller about Blake, who's a successful executive who loses his job, and he's forced to rent out a room in his home to help make ends meet. Him and his fiancée, Krista, they think they found the perfect tenant in this woman named Whitney. She seems charming, polite, and she's seemingly perfect.
But soon after Whitney moves in, strange things start to happen. There's like a weird noise, there's odd smells, the neighbors start acting kind of strange too, and Blake begins to feel like something sinister might be happening under his own nose.
Yeah, and as the tension builds, the story explores themes of guilt, trust, and how well we really know the people around us. It's full of suspense and twists that keep you guessing until the end. So if you haven't had a chance to read the book yet, stop here because we've got major spoilers ahead.
All right, so this book takes us through some twists and turns, but I want to know, when we're like first sitting down with the book, what were your first impressions?
I did think it had a little bit of a slow start for me, but this one, I mean, by the time I got to the end, I realized it was a little bit more of like a slow burn. I kept waiting for the shoe to drop and for things to get crazy or like for Blake to snap. And it just seemed like it took a lot longer. So I was really trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to be looking for here? Because we're taking it really slow. There was just a lot going on, but it took a minute to figure out anything.
Yeah, it did. And I think that was like kind of well done because we got to know Blake a lot before we really started to see kind of some crazy things happening. And I think it helped you like get to know that character before the crazy things, because some of Freida's books kind of jump into crazy like on page one. And so this one had like a nice build to it that I kind of liked the pacing of.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Paige. I was like, okay, wait a minute. There was some crazy stuff happening. Don't get me wrong. But I was like, is that really the craziest thing? Like, when is it going to get insane? I think throughout the book, it does start to like slowly ramp and then it just whoosh.
Yeah. And the way it was written, that tension was building and you're just like, someone's going to snap. Like, it's going to get wild. And you knew that whenever the shoe was going to drop, that it was going to be insane. So I felt that while I was reading it, but I kept waiting for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Did anybody else think that they had this book figured out early on, or what were your like game theories, if you will, while you were reading this?
I was really suspicious of Krista. Not that I was right about the way that anything played out at all. But I just thought that she was being kind of weird. And I was just like, that's just not how I feel like I would have treated my partner. I thought that maybe she was at least in on it somehow with the tenant because of what happened with the woman when they spoke outside. And I was like, okay, something different happened there. So I was really suspicious of her, but I couldn't figure out why. I was like, I don't know how she plays into it. I thought that her and Malcolm were somehow in cahoots or like maybe in a relationship.
Oh, Malcolm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I clocked Krista right away too. I thought that it was so weird the way she was treating her fiance when he was like raising these concerns, and she was like so flippant with it, but also flippant with like their friends when they were asking if their new tenant was attractive, and they're like, oh, she's so hot, and she's like, oh, but I don't care at all because my fiance is perfect, and he would like never stray. I was just getting weird vibes, so I thought that she had something to do with it the whole time. Well, not the whole time, probably like a third of the way in, but I could have never guessed like to what extent or like the way that all tied together. I would have literally never come up with, but
No.
yeah.
Yeah, I honestly was taken so aback. I was waiting for the roommate Whitney because I was like, okay, she's gonna act all kind of crazy and like steal the man somehow, was my thinking. But then I was kind of impressed with Krista by the end because I did think her character was a little dry at first, no personality. So I honestly, when the twist comes, I was like so refreshed. I was like, thank God.
The other thing that I thought might have been going on was everybody was saying Blake was doing things. So I was like, okay, this is either delusion or this is just being completely gaslit. And when I was thinking it was delusion, I was like, okay, he's not sleeping well. It sounds like maybe he could be losing parts of his memory. So maybe he's doing things that he doesn't know about. And I thought that we might have got some kind of weird like split personality moment or something. So I kept waiting for that. This is conspiracy or delusion, but it's one of the two.
Yeah.
I like that. That could have explained like why he lost his job too. If he just did that and didn't remember, like
I didn't know
Spilling
what to
company
think. We were
secrets?
spending so much time with Blake. When is your crazy gonna show? Like,
Yeah, to your point, I did think he was being somewhat unreliable because I didn't know if I believed that he didn't steal from his company just because he never thought about it except when somebody brought it up to him. And I was like, man, if my employer was threatening to sue me and I was really like, no, that didn't happen, I'd be like, yeah, take my ass to court. Like, I want to know what you know because there's no way. He seemed to let it just skate unless it came in conversations.
that's true. And that was like his dream job. And now he's been struggling to find a job. So I didn't really think about that, but that's very true.
Yeah.
it immediately made me wonder like why he wasn't suing for like wrongful termination or something. I was like,
Yeah.
you have legal course here, but then I was like, well, it's a book, so I'll let it go.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be kind of boring to read, him suing his boss, but
Yeah, I did have to let some things go because I was like, it's for the plot. Let it happen.
yeah. But no, it was suspicious though. There's got to be something else going on. Like your life is literally turning upside down. Does this not seem weird to you, or you're losing it?
Yeah. Yeah. So, speaking of it, we kind of hinted about the tenant a little bit. Her name is Whitney when we meet her. What are your initial thoughts of when she came to play?
I mean, out of all the options they had, clearly the winner, if those are your options for a roommate, you're dumb if you don't pick Whitney.
Yeah.
I liked her. I wasn't too suspicious until she showed up without a ton of belongings. And then I was like,
Yeah.
that's kind of weird. Like you only have a few bags and that's it. You don't have anything else to your name. So I thought there was more to her story than what we first saw, but I wasn't like super suspicious right away.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. I was just like, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. She showed up with nothing. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I feel like even when I was like moving out in high school, like you don't own anything. You have clothes and like bedspread, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't know, but it's like I would have still needed more room for all that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Not a little car. I would have needed like at least a U-Haul. There's no way. Just for my closet alone. Like,
Yeah.
So which one of the other options are you guys going with for the roommate if you guys didn't like Whitney?
ooh.
Ooh, I would definitely have to go with the psychic. I think she'd keep it interesting.
You know, I wasn't so mad at her. I was like, man, she really believes this stuff. Maybe there
Yeah.
is like something to this.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she had their best interest. She wasn't doing anything
Yeah.
nefarious with her abilities.
No, she was
Yeah.
right to dip. Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah. She was like, you're going to die.
actually, this is not worth it.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. She was 100% right too.
Yeah. Yeah. Better than the guy that like is drilling holes into the wall.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like, oh gosh, what was the other one?
He was like a kickboxer and he like punched a hole in the wall.
That's what it was. Just so random.
But
Yeah.
then there was that other guy who wanted to drill holes because he wanted to see if the internet was good enough. So he's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to need to like, test the cable or something. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
please back away.
No, definitely went through like a whole parade of just
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
for Whitney to seem
Yes.
normal.
Oh, yeah.
Which you find out later why, but at the time I'm like, this is kind of ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for these to be the options for a roommate, like I feel like you'd have some better options, but you know, not.
I just
not in that
chalked it
scenario.
up to like New York. I was
That's
just
fair.
like that. It didn't phase me at all because I feel like that's all you see like when you watch TV or read books is like crazy New Yorkers.
Dude, that's such a good point. To that with like it being New York, I had to Google what a brownstone was because it is mentioned so much, and I was like, "Is that like a builder? Like, what is this?" It turns out it's like the houses from Sesame Street. It's like that. I was like, "Oh, okay, I know what this is now."
See, that's what you should do as a reader. Like you see something you don't know and you Google it so you can learn. But I
Yes.
read and I'm like, brownstone, don't know what that is. Continue. And I did look it up. So thank you for actually educating me.
It wasn't until I listened to this with my boyfriend as we were driving like several hours, and he was like, "What the heck is a brownstone? I'm driving. Can you Google it?" So I probably would have been right there with you, but he was insisting that he needed
Like
to
this is
know.
unacceptable.
sense.
Like,
Yeah.
we need to address the problem.
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea. Anyway,
My husband would have done that. So that, you know, that makes me feel a little bit better about myself.
yeah, no, I'm right there with you.
Did you know what a brownstone was?
I watch a lot of Law and Order, so yeah.
Oh.
So you had it clocked.
Yeah. If it were not for Law and Order, no, I would have no clue.
Would you have Googled it though?
Probably not. I'm way better about looking up words when I'm on my Kindle. Am I going to stop myself to Google? No, but will I highlight something on my Kindle? Almost every time.
Can't you look it up in your
Like in the
Kindle?
book. Yeah, you can just
you can
highlight it and then it just
Okay.
says like dictionary.
I
pops
could say
up.
because like I have to close the book and take out my phone. To,
No,
like, do
I
that,
would
and that's
never.
not happening.
And then
I
I'm
would
on
never.
TikTok. Then I'm on.
Yeah. Now my book is done for the day
Yeah.
because I'm doom scrolling.
Yeah, no. I couldn't do it if it was any other way. This is also on Kindle Unlimited while we're talking about Kindles.
Who is it?
Ooh.
Okay, a lot of her books are, which is awesome. 'Cause
Yeah.
she publishes 1 million a year, so you can just read them on there.
Yeah.
$1 million a year.
All right, so taking it back to Whitney, though, they obviously picked her as the tenant because she was the clear option out of the ones that we met. So at what point after she moved in did you guys start to think that there was something going on here?
I feel like it was for me when he started itching. I was like, ooh, there's something going. Now, I didn't necessarily believe that it was her out to get him like he believed, but I was kind of like, okay, you have sensitive skin and you have a new roommate and you didn't tell her not to use certain products. But then the way he confronted her, I was like, oh, okay. There's a lot happening.
It definitely went from 0 to 100 on that one.
Yeah.
And you're right. We didn't see him at least tell her not to use specific things. So it's kind of a crazy way to approach like,
Yeah.
hey, like you probably used a different kind of laundry detergent that I can't have. But instead he's like, you did this on
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah, I wouldn't have confronted anybody at work about cereal and my soap. It's already done and over with. You can deal with that at home. You already also solved the problems for the day.
Yeah.
Right. Like go to the store, buy what you need. And then when she gets home from work later, you can be like, hey, like I think you used all this up. Next time, maybe replace it or like tell me that it's gone. There are much more civil ways. And that was the first like red flag he had. And he jumped
Oh, yeah.
to like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this woman's insane and she's an issue and she's using all of my stuff, which was like a crazy jump.
He did jump. Like he leaped actually. He was like, it's all your fault. I had an awful
Yeah.
day. In his brain, he was saying the right stuff. But then when he opened his mouth, I was like, what happened? How did we get
Volatile.
here?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe part of it was that he was like attracted to this woman and like he felt like there was some like temptation there. And he was like, let me just like push her away as far as physically possible. Maybe get her to like move out. I don't know. I like to think that there's like some sort of good in that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't really recognize it as such a big jump until like we're sitting here talking
Yes.
about it. But I think it's because you're kind of primed to just expect Whitney to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So you think it's like all this intentional,
Yes.
like whatever. But I think that's just the title of the book alone. There's really not much
Yeah.
else going on at the time to make you think anything bad about Blake other than what the psychic lady said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like the small things like her not showing up with stuff. And then I think at some point he looks for her on social. So like they're dropping little clues for you, but like nothing to make it that much of a jump. But you're right. When I was reading, I was like, this makes sense. Like overreact to the extreme. This is the logical thing to do, Blake.
It just didn't seem like it's such a big leap, but it was huge.
Yeah. But speaking of those like bottles that she used up and stuff, that was my first time that I was thinking that Krista had something to do with it because I was like,
Ooh.
how did this woman use up an entire soap bottle in like one day? Like, how did she go through this whole box of cereal? Why
Yeah.
did she use all of his, like, is she stealing it? Like, it didn't make sense to me how she could have like logically done that in that
Yeah.
amount of time. So I was like, there's something going on here. And that's where I first was like, Krista, maybe?
I feel like I like watch enough like roommate nightmare stories that I was like, oh, he got one of them. I just believed.
My other scenario that it wasn't Krista was that she's like bottling all of his stuff up to like keep for herself. 'Cause I was like, you can't go through a whole bottle of shampoo in
Yeah.
one shower. Like that's not a thing. So I was like, maybe she's like stealing it into her own little
Yeah.
bottles. Like I don't know, something weird. But
I thought
Yeah.
she was just trying to be a turd. I mean, at that point, I just thought that she was going to be crazy, like to
Yeah.
do all that stuff. I was like, that is wild. Or, yeah, I guess you could consider like, is she just stockpiling or something?
yeah,
The
or
cereal didn't weird me out that much because I was like, maybe she's really hungry.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I could eat a box of cereal in a day if I was like only eating cereal. Like you could go through that.
yeah, if,
Yeah.
if she had no other food there,
Right.
that was the only part. But the soap was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
then the
definitely.
other option was that she was just like purposely messing with him, which was like a possibility in my brain too. Cause I'm like, there maybe she knows him somehow. Maybe he like screwed her over in some way that he doesn't recognize her, and she's
Yeah.
just like toying with him. She's like, "Oh, you said I could use your stuff. Like, yeah, sure, I'll use it, but I'm only doing what you said I could do." So
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, I'll use it all.
yeah, you didn't say how much, so
Yeah.
I'm fine.
So speaking of Whitney, what were your kind of first impressions of her as a roommate besides potentially stealing soap and cereal?
She was getting a little friendly with Blake, which I didn't really appreciate. I mean, it seemed, I don't know. I have a roommate and I live with my fiance and our roommate, who's my friend's boyfriend. But
Right. Yeah.
I would never even leave my room with like out a bra on. I would never even think to
I
do
get what you're
that.
saying.
Like it wouldn't occur to me if no, like I'm going to be fully dressed all the time. Like this is a common space. This is not my personal space. And if somebody's in a relationship, like it just seemed, I would never as a girl, like what did she think Krista was going to think if she saw her like that?
You're talking about her PJ situation with
Yeah,
like
her
the
PJ
tank top
situation.
and the short shorts.
In the biting the lip and the
Yeah.
like, oh, you're so handsome. And oh, you're the kind of guy that's always going to land on his feet. Like that was flirtatious.
Ooh.
You don't even know him. I could have that same conversation with a complete stranger and never use those exact words. You know what I
Right.
mean? You can hype somebody up without
Flirting with
drooling
them.
all over them.
Yeah, you're right.
That's so fair. I did question a little bit. This was from Blake's POV, and he was very like from the beginning. He's at work, like noticing like attractive coworkers and stuff.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it could have been partly that he was like building it up in his story that that's kind of what happened, and she's flirting with him and whatever. And it could just be him being kind of self-involved. But then those things that she said, like that's kind of just crossing a line, no matter how she says it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just didn't like the word she used. You can do the same nice thing with different words that are not so crossing a boundary.
Yeah. Yeah, I did agree with Bethany. I was like, dude, this guy's kind of a pig with the way he was talking about all women. I was like, ugh.
He kept doing the whole, like, I can look, I can notice, but I can't
Yeah.
touch. And it's like, that's, I mean, good for you for not
Yeah.
touching, but is it really that hard where you have to remind yourself not to touch? Do you have to mentally, like, have a
Yeah.
conversation with yourself every time? Is it that hard for you to go without looking?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a daily, like, I'm not going to cheat on my fiance today, but I will just look. Like, that's
Yeah.
not, that shouldn't be like your daily thought process. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
and
it seems like in like high school when it's like dress code and it's like, oh my gosh, no one show your shoulders. They're far too distracting for the boys.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't stand how he was constantly saying like, oh God, if I wasn't with Krista, she would be totally my type. But now I'm a changed man because I'm engaged. I was like, you're
she's just like natural beauty. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I was like, you're still a pig, and
No.
you're just
You're
occupied.
emotionally cheating.
Yes. I was not about it, but
No.
yeah, that was an interesting word choice with their conversation. Definitely wouldn't be comfortable.
No. I mean, if Krista had heard that,
Oh, dude, the crazy.
Would the timeline speed up if she heard that?
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
mean,
She
yeah.
kind of had her
Good
master
question.
plan.
She might have heard it. She might have been like,
She
was
probably
right
has
there.
a whole apartment bug.
come to
She's
the
like-
door.
yeah.
If you guys had to describe this book in just one word or like a vibe, what would you choose?
Gaslight.
Ooh, yeah.
Mm.
Gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep. Yeah.
I knew I called it.
Yeah.
I knew this was coming up.
Yes.
I texted Maggie right after I finished the book and I said, all I know is that at some point in the podcast, the words girl boss, gaslight, gatekeep is coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, that was, you
It
just
happened.
unlocked it. I was like, no. Yes. That is what this, yeah, that's the vibe. Yeah. Good for Krista, man. What about you, Bethany?
I would just say like addicting. Like the chapters were really short. I couldn't put this one down. I read this within the span of like 5 or 6 hours. So yeah, that'd be my word.
Nice.
Yeah, that was definitely a plus for me too with the shorter chapters because it makes you every single time, especially if you read on the Kindle, it tells you how many minutes until your chapter's over. And it'll be like 2 minutes left, 3
Yes.
minutes left. And I'm like,
like,
I
I
have
can do
3
one
more
more.
minutes.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
5 more minutes. And
Yeah.
most of the chapters were like under 10 minutes. So it was
Yeah.
really easy to just keep picking it back up.
Oh, yeah.
I love that about her books. They're almost all like that, which is it's like so easy to read them in like 1 or 2 sittings because of that. Because you're like, oh, even if you're reading the physical book, you flip through, you're like, oh, this chapter's 3 pages. Like, I'm just gonna finish this one, and then that keeps happening.
I listened to it, so I just had the full audio length left, and I did not feel that way. I was just like, oh, there's like, but then I started to speed up the audio because I was like, these guys talk really slow. All right, so now that we got a chance to kind of talk about our initial feelings of the book and the pacing, let's take a quick bubble break and then get more into the characters because we kind of teased some of them and kind of talked about them, but there's so much to talk about with these characters, and my drink's too low, so let's take a quick bubble break.
All right, well, we're back with our second drink. I went with a red wine because in the book, there's a mysterious stain on the carpet at one point. If you've read this, I hope you've read this since we're going into spoilers, but there's a red stain after, I think it was after his neighbor was found dead. And he's
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
why is there a red stain on my carpet? That's kind of weird. And then obviously things go crazy from there. But because of that red stain, I picked a red wine. This one's a Roscato. So it's like a sweeter red. So cheers.
Cheers. Ooh. Ooh, that is a sweet red.
Tasty.
I didn't know what
Yeah.
to expect. I don't hate it.
It's like a red Moscato.
Yeah. All right, so getting into characters, I gotta know, did you have a whiplash with who to trust, or were you just like wholly believing in one character? Like, how did this ride go for you?
I had no idea who to trust because I thought Blake maybe was losing his mind. Krista was giving me really sus vibes, but I couldn't figure out how she played into it all. And the problem that I had with that was just how long they'd been dating. It wasn't anything to do with their actual dynamic. It was just the fact that they've been dating for 2 years, and it did kind of line up, but it lined up more with when the tenant showed up. So I had a hard time fully saying that it was Krista, but then I wondered if she was in cahoots somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that I read this one twice, and the first time through, I like just kind of thought I had it figured out, and I sort of did with the whole Krista thing. But the second time through, it kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop, the way that Whitney was like acting, because she was starting to get conflicting things. Obviously, she's not doing these things that Blake thinks she is, but now Blake is like getting revenge and doing this crazy shit. And I feel like she was acting strange too, because she started just kind of like slightly mess with him or say weird things to him. And I feel like she'd be making a bigger deal about like the fruit on her bed, for example. Like there was just weird things that on my second read through, I'm like, this does not seem normal.
Yeah. Yeah, she like didn't say a word. I agree with you. I was definitely like not trusting Blake throughout most of the story. I don't know why. So some of the times when he was like, oh, Whitney's smiling or she's doing this or she's doing that, I was like, oh, that's so subjective and I have to trust Blake that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I didn't know who to trust, honestly, because I so didn't feel like I trusted Blake and everything was through his perspective. So I was just kind of like, when is somebody going to come around that I know is good?
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it was with me for Whitney or the tenant. I definitely thought that she was somehow still going to be involved because of all the like weird things she was doing too, like you were talking about. It really did warp your perception just knowing like I don't even trust my narrator.
Yeah.
Right. And even like small things like the goldfish funeral where he's like trying to say some words and then she comes in and she's like, this goldfish was like my peace in life. I'd watch it in the tank and it's like so sad it's gone. And it's like, I don't know. Like
that was definitely a performance.
Yes,
she needed an Oscar for that one.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But then it's like, since it wasn't her, why was she doing all of these? Like, it doesn't.
Right.
The second time through, I was like, this doesn't fully add up. But I mean, it's for just like the fun book, basically. It's the way I chalked it up to. But
I mean, Krista was also kind of messing with her, though, where she was like leaving all those notes and like doing all these things. So I think at a certain point, like she really did just actually hate Blake. So sometimes she saw, I think, opportunities like with the fish funeral where she's like, oh yeah, Krista's upset. Yeah, let me just put some salt in that wound for you, bud.
Yeah, I feel like there's some things where she just would have been like, hey, I didn't do that. Like when he was being kept up at night from like her loud noises and he's like, you were so loud. I feel like she'd be like, I was asleep. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's too many things where she's just like quietly just taking whatever weird thing he's saying she did that she didn't do and reading it back as like, why isn't she like talking about this? Like, why isn't she saying, hey, I didn't do that? Like, that food you found in the fridge, not mine. Like,
oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot the
food. Throwing it back to that first drink.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I just like apples, so it would just seem like an opportunity, but I was super on the fence about making that drink in general because there was a few gross parts in the book, but the putrid apples, I think, might have been the thing that sent me the most.
Really, for me, it was the noodles. I was
my
like,
God, don't even.
See, you blocked it out. I told you that's the worst.
Why are we talking about noodles? I was just gonna say, Paige, you read this book and you were like, I want some apple cider. Like, that's where your brain went because I went like, I don't need apples for a long time. Good thing they're not in season.
No, I just really like apple cider.
It was tasty.
Yeah,
it wasn't rotten.
No,
but no noodles for me.
Oh,
yeah,
that was really bad.
That was, I like. Freida McFadden is cursed for coming up with that. I don't know why she like thought of that one, but I like hate that she did. Like I really could have done without reading that one twice.
Yeah, that one was bad.
Well, I didn't understand too when it came to Krista's character that I think just adds like a whole different element of crazy is that she was like putting those apples up and everything and living with those flies. She knew exactly how to get rid of them. How can you choose to live in that?
Yeah.
That's nasty. If you know exactly what's going on and you're like, there's a million ways to have an argument.
She's crazy enough though that it was what it made sense.
Yeah. I just can't. I mean, it can't understand crazy, I guess, but it's just like bugs. No,
but that's where I like thought that she for sure was behind it because I'm like, he's bringing up this crazy shit. Like their lives are so different now, and she's like, no big deal. Like she probably just left it on accident.
Yeah.
Like that's not normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I did tell, because like I said, I listened to this with my boyfriend driving from way early on. I was like, dude, if you came to me and you said, this woman that lives with us is making me so uncomfortable, I want her gone. Like, oh my God, I can't stand her. I don't think I could, as your partner, just be like, we need the money.
Right.
I'd be like, dude, what else do we got to do? Do I got to sell feet pics? Like, let's get this girl out. I would not just be like, no, we need her.
She's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
and like they would in that scenario, if she did accidentally leave these like apples to rot, I feel like when you tell Krista that, Krista, even if she was like, oh, it was probably an accident, you still talk to the room. It's like she just
Yes.
left it. She's like, probably an accident, no big deal. Like you have to still talk about that. Like you have to
Yeah.
be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
hey, roommate, even if it was an accident, like please don't do that again. We have maggots. Like
Yeah. Like, did you not notice the bugs?
Yeah.
That's gross, right?
So nasty.
I do have to ask, if you were in Blake's shoes, at what point, or would you? Because I kind of said to this earlier that he came to Krista and was like, dude, I want Whitney gone. I want her gone. At what point would you go past Krista and say, you know what? This is too far. Whitney's out of here. Would it be at the point that he did, or would it have been earlier?
I feel like he tried it earlier when he was like, hey, you're going to have to leave. And she was like, no, I don't, because
Yeah.
the New York City law or whatever. And
Like,
he's like,
yeah.
damn it, I wish you didn't know that or something. Like,
She was basically threatening to squat in their house,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. She
She's like,
100% was.
I don't have a lease, but I legally can stay here, so suck it. Was what
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
said.
That was crazy.
And that I don't remember when that happened, but it was
that
not
did
super
also
late.
make me not trust her a ton,
Yeah.
because I was
Yeah.
just like, what a wild thing to say.
Mhm.
Like, if you don't want to live with somebody or somebody can't live with you, like that is crazy. It's for the plot.
It
I
is.
know.
But especially because she's hiding her identity, like you wouldn't be like trying to make a fuss in that scenario.
No.
Like you'd be,
Yeah.
you're like you're trying to fly under the radar. This person who you're living with is trying to kick you out, and like you're at each other's throats. Like that's not a good situation. You're trying to be under the radar, and that's not going to keep you there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And I feel like as Blake, I would be like, ah, shit, I need a lawyer. I need to figure out how to get you out now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because obviously the bugs aren't doing it. Like, what else?
Or honestly, at that point, because he doesn't have the job that can pay for the home anymore, like maybe they just need to find a new home and we all are moving out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
selling the
dude.
brownstone.
Yeah.
We're moving to an apartment. Goodbye, Whitney. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his dad called with like the perfect opportunity, and he was just like, no, I'm going to find a better job. Every time he was like, I'm going to find a better job, I was like, that means more money to you. That doesn't mean I'm going to enjoy my work. I'm going to like work with purpose. I'm going to be a good person. No, it's money. That's all he was saying.
yeah, because you heard him get his new job and he's like, I'm just a temp. This is so below me. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
like, okay. That's a great way to approach your new job. I'm sure you'll be so successful. I'm starting as a temp, but I'll be like the very top of this company soon. And it's like, that's
Yeah.
a weird way to walk into your new, like, lower level job.
Yeah.
I got the whole dress for success thing, like
Yeah.
whatever. I was really proud of him that day where he was like, eventually, like I thought it was nice when he was like, eventually I'm gonna work my way up and blah blah blah. I didn't think he was like, I'm gonna be there next week or like I'm gonna
Right.
do
Yeah.
this and do that. But like, I thought that was gonna be such a redeeming moment, and then he gets there and he's just so resentful of the entire position.
Yes.
It could, like, if you had the right mindset, that's a good way to, like, kind
Yeah.
of motivate yourself. But that wasn't the way he did it. He's like, I'm so amazing that they're just going to, like, bring me to the top right away. Like, it wasn't like
Yeah.
he's going to work his way up because he's,
Just
like,
toxic.
having to
Yeah.
get coffees and he's like, this is so below me. Like, he was, like, hiding it from the coworker he ran into. It's like, I don't know. You're not going to ever go up in a company if you're not actually doing the things that are at your job level right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
He really
and
was losing it.
dude, yeah. And well, he was doing some like blue collar work around the brownstone and he was like enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I was like, why wouldn't you just go back with your dad who's begging you to take over his business and you seem to enjoy working like you're offering your cranky neighbor to like fix his front step, but then you're like, but I have to be the best marketing person in the whole wide world. It didn't seem like he really wanted to do the work that he was trying to do. He just wanted more money.
Yeah. So speaking of the crazy neighbor, Mr. Zimmerly. So
Yes.
that was kind of an interesting dynamic. It seemed like he and Blake had a little, what do you call it? I was going to try to say something.
Like a feud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They definitely had a feud over the trash cans. And Krista was just fueling that fire, dude.
Oh my gosh.
I lost it when I was reading that part. The fact that they went back just to be like, yeah, for sure it was Krista. I was
Yeah.
like, yay. But Mr. Zimmerly was so obsessed with the trash cans being put back. Like, have you guys ever had a neighbor like that?
I feel like I'm that neighbor. Listen, okay, my neighbor's cat pissed on me. And every time that cat's up there, I'm like, I'm not going outside. I hate it. I feel like that's a legit reason to be mad, though.
No,
I'm
that's
not
fair. But like, are you complaining to somebody about it, or just like silently mad? Because like those are 2
I'm-
feelings.
definitely silently mad because I don't want to interact with my neighbor.
But that's fair. But that makes you not Mr. Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live right now until 3 days from now in a condo with an HOA, and it's like a retirement neighborhood. So a good chunk of my neighbors are like a little bit kind of like Mr. Zimmerman. So yeah, I've definitely experienced that and excited to live in not that neighborhood very soon.
Funny.
That
Yeah.
was such a like politically correct way to say my
yeah.
neighbors are cranky.
they have their moments. Yep. We've gotten lots of stories there, but we won't go into it.
Gotten pretty lucky with the neighbors that I've got here. They've
Yeah.
not been a problem for me. It seems like your neighbors in your new house are super nice too,
Yeah.
which is cool. Did you guys see it coming when Blake threw the trash cans?
I feel like after knowing what happened, I understand his anger a little bit more because he was legitimately thinking he was like losing his mind because he's like, I knew I brought that back in and it's back out again. And now I'm getting yelled at by this neighbor over and over again. Like there's only so much of that I feel like you can just not be going crazy for. So, I mean, he did snap, but yeah, I felt like there was definitely tension that was rising to something.
Oh yeah. It was the fact that he was in his own head also thinking like, wow, that would have been really bad if I actually hit him with that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can see the freak out and I was expecting maybe some yelling, but
Yeah.
I did not expect him to get violent with the neighbor. And as soon as he did, I was like, dead.
Yeah.
That neighbor's dead. I knew there
Yeah.
was going to have to be, I knew he would be the first body to drop.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see it coming, but yeah, so we do find him dead and he is murdered with the clock that sits in Blake's and Krista's apartment. And when he was saying like, man, that clock looks a lot like my clock anyway, and walking out the door, I was like, that should be a bigger red flag than it is there, sir. And then we find out that, this neighbor he did die. Blake thinks he hit his head on something in the bathroom. He's dead in the bathroom. Blood everywhere.
Right after Blake gets his opportunity to finally yell at Mr. Zimmerly
Yes.
because he has left out his own trash cans and Blake is ready to come in there like fist swinging. It seems like he's just instead finding a poor dead Mr. Zimmerly.
Yeah. Yeah, he found him so dead. And then
He was gone. He was. Would you guys have like gone into the house like that though? Like the door's unlocked. Are you opening this neighbor's door that you've never really interacted with beyond yelling at each other?
Yeah.
No, I was thinking you need to call and make a welfare check. Like you don't need to call the police and be like, I think something's wrong. You can just call and be like, I want a welfare check on my neighbor. And they should do that. You don't need to provide so much detail.
Like reaching to check if the door's locked is already weird to me. I'm like, why are you like that's bizarre.
I don't know.
Paige
I
says she would.
I would. If it was like for the fact that he was so elderly and described as like potentially going to pass any time, because that was just like you knew he was very old and whatever. So it's like, okay, if this is the thing, and then he's like, okay, I can't even like yell at him. Like when he initially went to go in, I do think he was trying to check on him, and he was like, something could be wrong. So I might have that same initial instinct.
No, I did believe something was wrong. I did believe that.
If the door hadn't opened, yes, I would have been calling for a welfare check. But if the door was unlocked, I would have probably been like calling in. I don't know if I would have gone in, or at least maybe not searched that hard. But I might have still then just called and said, this is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to go in the rest of the house.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That is fair.
But I might have called.
Yeah. As soon as the garbage was still out there and he was like, I'm going to go yell at him. I was like, oh, he's dead. Like,
I thought
there was
the
no
same
question
thing.
in my mind. I was like, okay, yep, that's
I was
it.
like, he's either screaming, I've fallen and I can't get up, or he's too far gone.
Doesn't have his life alert.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Fun fact.
Yeah.
I totally called 911 with a life alert thing when I was like 5 years old. Found it in my grandma's.
No way.
There's a toy.
I thought it was just, I don't know what I thought. And I was playing with it and the police showed up and I got a whole talking to.
Oh, no.
it was
That's
bad.
terrible.
Oh my gosh. I have a story similar, but a little different. When my brother and I were little, we were in a hotel room and, physical phones everywhere. They had buttons for 911 and firefighters and stuff, but they were pictures because they were hot dials. And so I barely remember this. My brother was much younger than me, obviously. And I was like, Michael, press that button. Michael, press that. My mom's in the shower and police are like banging on the door. Like, we've gotten like 6 911 calls and 3 firefighter calls. What the hell's going on in there? And then my mom has to come out in a towel and she's like, I'm not opening the door for you. And they're like, you need to open the door for us. She opens the door, yells at us so hard, and then goes to continue her shower. And me, the little shit that I am, I was like, oh, Michael, I was such a bad influence. I was like, let's jump on the couch now, because mom's not jumping on the couch. And I was like, to the table. The table is glass.
No.
Michael nose dives, breaks his nose, screams bloody murder. And my mom's back in the shower like, what the fuck is going on?
And then she had to call 911. No.
Yeah, I mean, literally. And then we roll up to the hospital, like, and his nose is broken. So we were in a different state. They were probably like, oh my God, this mother, like, abused the hell out of those kids for calling us.
Oh my God, that's insane.
And meanwhile, it was me. I'm the problem.
That's actually so wild.
At least that's how I
feel
remember it in my brain. I was very young.
I feel like
What a
there has to
dirtbag.
be...
I know, I'm the problem.
That story can't be like an isolated like incident. I feel like every podcast we should have like a Maggie childhood story, because
my God,
you sound
yeah.
very chaotic and it's
That's
so
not
much
the
fun.
first thing I made my brother do that was dumb.
See, it's so funny because Paige said that story and I was like, I have a story, and now mine is like the most boring story in the
I have to
whole
know.
history
No.
of the world.
Tell us.
Absolutely.
It's like not even me, but our next door neighbor, who's our best friend, he was just like bored and he was just like messing with a phone, and somehow just accidentally, he was too young to even know anything to do with it.
Yeah.
He literally dialed 911 just like on his first try of like
Yeah.
pressing numbers, and so like called the police. Ended up hanging up the phone, and the police had to come, and it was like this whole ordeal. But yeah, that's really
Yeah.
boring now. So
No, it's not really
No.
boring. No, that stuff's so traumatizing when you're a
It's so
kid.
crazy,
You're like,
yeah.
oh my God, an adult showed up and they're
Right.
like angry at me.
And
Oh
then
my
now all my
God.
parents are angry at me too, and like
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what I did wrong.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was really. I mean, when it happened to me, they were really cool about it. But
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my mom was just like,
I feel like that's a harder one to be mad at, because you found a fun little necklace that has a button, and you're a kid,
Yeah.
and kids like to press buttons.
oh,
Yeah.
I knew what it did.
Oh.
Oh, I knew what it did. I was just like, I'm gonna play with this. I found it. I'm playing with it.
All right, so speaking of like fun cop stories, Blake has his own fun cop visit when he discovers a suspicious stain under his rug that looks, like a wine spill, and then he starts scrubbing it, and it's like, oh no, that might be way too red. Oh no, that smells really metallic-y. And then all of a sudden, police, which is like horrifying also.
Yeah.
And he opens the door, and it's this detective questioning him, basically asking him if he had anything to do with his neighbor, and drops the bombshell that was not an accident, that was a murder. And he was like, and I heard you guys were fighting. What do you have to say for yourself? And Blake is like spinning, which I can't blame him for. I was proud of him for being like, I am not going downtown with you. I am not coming back if I go downtown. Would you have handled that similarly, or what would you have done in that situation?
I like to think that I would have called a lawyer or said, yeah, I think I'm going to stay here or whatever, because
Yeah.
at that point you have to know that you're being set up
Oh, yeah.
for something. But I would also have a really hard time saying no to the police. I would just be worried about getting in trouble and be like, I don't even know
yeah.
what I can or can't do here. So if they gave me too much pushback on it, I might have been like, okay.
Yeah, from like a outside perspective, I'm like, yes, I would say a lawyer, or I'm not going if you don't have a warrant. But in the scenario of like the cops just showed up at my door, I feel like I'd be too like in a weird mental state where I'm like freaking out.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, you need me to come with you? Like, where do I go? Like, I feel like I'd just be doing it because I know I didn't do anything. So
Right.
it'd be different if I like did kill the guy, but and then I'd be like lawyer, but not
Yeah.
expecting it and kind of being blindsided by that. I feel like my brain would just turn off and I'd be like, take me away.
The other part of me when I was reading it was like, man, what would have happened if he was like, dude, I was just about to call you.
Yeah, look at this stain. What is that?
What is going on?
I feel like I've been like primed to know that the police can and will lie to you. So I feel like in my heart, I believe that the correct answer is to say, no, I need a lawyer. I'm not going to do anything. But I'm not going to lie. When I was reading his POV, I was like, buddy, this is looking bad. And if you get caught for this later and aren't on the right side of history with this could be really bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I would do. conflicted.
I feel like he handled it really well though, because like
Yeah.
given the situation, as I said, I'd be freaking out. So for him to have that level-headed response, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
Bloody paper towel in his hand while he's
Yeah.
talking to the police.
Yeah, he was like, "Sir, I've just had too much to drink. I can't make it." Which maybe that's a good excuse. All right, so speaking of, having too much to drink, are there any characters that you'd like to have a drink with that we meet?
My goodness. I mean, if she was on the other side of like some bars,
Yeah.
Krista, I feel like I could have a chat with.
Yeah.
She'd be wild to talk to, dude.
Oh, yeah.
But safety wise, I feel like that Amanda girl's got to have just like also a lot of stories, but maybe won't like kill you.
Yeah, right.
I think I would be too scared to grab a drink with either of those people. They both are kind of insane, but I feel like, and you worded it as would like to. I wouldn't like to have a drink with any of these people, but if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Blake because he doesn't really seem very harmful. I don't think he's a great guy. Yeah. But like, I wouldn't be nervous for my life. I think he's kind of harmless and honestly not like the smartest guy. So I would leave with my life and it'd be okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, maybe I wouldn't because if Krista exists still, then maybe I would get murdered.
Yeah,
because
maybe
she'd be like, "You're talking to my man."
Yeah. Ooh.
Because that other girl, he did not do well.
Stacy did not make it. Stacy does not have it going on.
No.
I don't know who I would. Yeah, I agree with you. Would want to. I don't think anybody's sticking out, but if there was somebody that I'd be like, "Hey girl, tell me what's going on with this," it would be Krista. I'd be like, "Tell me everything."
Would I want to be in this situation? No. Like I said, it'd have to be like behind.
Yeah.
I'm calling her on the phone, visiting.
Yeah. I'd be like, "Girl, I love how you gaslight, girl boss, and gatekeep. Tell me what else you've done."
You know who I would have a drink with?
Yeah.
I feel like Mr. Zimmerman is just this grumpy old man
Ooh,
who's probably
yeah.
got lots of good stories. And I like to think that he is just lonely. And so that's why he like picks his fights with his neighbor for their trash. Because like he's not talking to anyone. So he's like, that's the way I could have a conversation. So I choose to believe that. And then I'd have a little drink with him.
There you go.
Aw.
That's perfect.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Play
That's so
checkers.
sweet. All right, so speaking of getting drinks, wait, what did you say? Hold on, what?
You guys could play checkers.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else do old people play?
Backgammon. I play backgammon like religiously. Very old person
Oh
game.
my gosh. Oh my
Okay,
God,
every
what's the
single
other one?
day.
Shuffleboard.
Mancala.
You could shuffleboard. Yeah. Yeah, Mancala. Yeah. Ah.
Speaking of drinks, I think it's time for our next bubble break.
All right, welcome back from our bubble break. I made what's called a plot twist, and if you want to see the plot twist in action, head on over to our socials at Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. I think we're gonna have it on all of those platforms. So, I mean, just a shameless plug. But with that being said, it is a mocktail. So, cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
I
like
hate it.
You need more sugar then, because mine's like fine now.
Try mine and tell me if they
Okay,
taste
okay,
different.
yeah. I mean, they are different shades. So
They
let's
are
see.
different shades.
Oh, yours is better.
Yeah, yours.
All right.
Yours actually just doesn't taste like anything.
It tastes like something.
I don't know. I
Something
think you need more
interesting
lemon.
I need more
I
lemon.
need more lemon and more sugar.
All right.
That's
Me
me just
just
a
said
lemonade.
sugar.
Sugar, sugar,
Yes, I
sugar.
do.
All right. On that note, I'll be right back.
But speaking of sugar, we also have been snacking on some cookies because if you've read this book, there are cookies like throughout the entire plot, which is really fun. But then they're also obviously at the end, like the poison that she uses is in the form of cookies. So I first had to bring some. I promise they're not poison, but we've been snacking. They're almost gone now, but on snickerdoodles and chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
snickerdoodles are the best.
So we've kind of hinted a couple of times at this, like, you know, Krista being crazy and Whitney being like kind of not who she says she is. If you've read the book, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you're insane and haven't read the book, but you're just listening to us because I don't know, maybe you like us. I don't know. We like you too. The twist is actually that Krista is causing all this to happen and is actually kind of crazy because Blake cheated on her and her actual name is Whitney, which means our Whitney Tenant is not Whitney. Her name's actually Amanda. So does anybody want to talk more about those two wild twists or if you saw them coming?
I mean, I don't know how you could have possibly seen it coming with, if there's clues, I couldn't find them.
Yeah.
It was just so like, what? Jaw on the floor.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And at that point, like, you can't put it down. And you're just like, oh my gosh, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I think that the part that I thought was so crazy about the whole thing was it wasn't, when you're talking about Whitney / Amanda, the tenant.
Yes.
And her role in all of it. She not only just happened to have her name, but she literally stole her identity. And
yeah. Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And that was a price to be paid for.
Dude, no kidding. And we find out that Krista, aka Whitney Cross is insane, has been insane for as long as her friends, family, teachers can remember. And she's a quote unquote missing person because she ran off after she allegedly pushed her high school boyfriend off the roof and killed him.
Yeah. Allegedly.
I mean, I'm pretty sure she ends up saying like that she did it later on. So she's like,
of course I did it. Like,
yeah. That whole thing was just so crazy. I didn't know how to wrap my mind around it at all.
Yeah, I think that, like, I would love to hear somebody say that they actually predicted that twist, because I feel like a bunch of people are going to have predicted Krista had something weird going on, but to predict that she's actually Whitney and that the Whitney we know is not real Whitney, like, that was really out there. And also just like, and again, you have to just kind of move on because it's a book, but it's like, why did, like, that's such a coincidence that she stole this person's identity that doesn't even, I don't even think she's from like New York City. She somehow found like her information, stole it, and then is in the vicinity looking for like a room to rent. There's so many like elements there that had to all align in the weirdest of ways.
Well, but Krista also kind of set her up to the point where she was going to need a place to stay because she told her landlord she was a drug dealer. Dude, Krista was off the wall. Her plan was just so convoluted. Yeah. But you also got to give the girl some props. The same way that you do the villain in like some stories, you're just like, dang, like, good job.
You're
like,
really that
you were
bad.
on the wrong side of things, but you perfect execution.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're like crazy, but like you are crazy. So you're doing it. Yeah. You know? She really said, oh, you wanted to take my name? Punishable by death.
Yeah.
Like wild.
Yeah. When we go back to like talking about what kind of broke Krista / Whitney Cross in the first place, because her and Blake were happy for a while. It seemed like she had adapted to this new life and she's just kind of being Krista, and Krista's normal. And it seems...
But is she?
I mean, it seemed like Krista, in her role as Krista, was pretty normal to the people around her. But I think that the second that Krista's threatened, Whitney comes out. And Whitney comes swinging.
I don't know if I agree about that, though, because Blake had that other girlfriend, and we learned from Krista, Whitney's POV, that she kind of like made that relationship stop. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
She was like, he's kind of cute. Why won't he ask me out? Oh, he's got a girlfriend. I can fix that. And she did. That's so wild.
Yeah.
Wait, I missed that.
Yeah,
that was a thing.
Yeah. So if you remember, Blake was talking about like the day after him and his ex broke up, he like asked Krista out. Oh. Well, when we get to Krista's POV, which is like the last 30% of this book is all from Krista's POV, she talks about like, yeah, when I met him, I just couldn't believe why you wouldn't ask me out. Did some research. He's got a girlfriend that smokes like a chimney. I can fix it. And I mean, she did.
See, that's funny because the double standard there, because the girl that he cheated with, I don't remember her name.
Stacey.
Stacey. She basically tried to do the same thing.
Yes.
Wasn't even successful. He was like, yeah, no, I've got, I mean, he did cheat on her.
Super hot.
Yeah,
that's all I
must
know.
have been. Yeah.
But like Whitney saw that and she's like, I did that successfully, but you tried that. Time to like murder you so badly that you begged me to kill you. Like that's interesting.
No, she really let the crazy out.
Yeah, you've got me there with that.
Yeah, she was like, I want it. I'm going to have it. And, you know, I mean, props to her, but like, I mean, crazy.
Yeah. And her mom even was just like, nah, she's been like that since she was little. And she was tormenting her parents at home. Like, that was, what would you even do in that situation? Like, that's what I think about every time that you're like watching a movie or reading that book where it's like the kid and you're like, what do you even do?
I don't know. I don't have kids, so I think it's kind of hard for me to like speak to that because I gotta imagine it's gotta be like difficult as a parent in general. But then to be like, oh, my kid's kind of creeping me out. Like, how do you? I would have no idea.
But yeah, that has to be hard as a parent, like to have that be the case where this kid that you love is also like super crazy and has been tormenting you. And I almost think that maybe it would have been a relief when she like disappeared almost, because you're like, you can't as a parent, like what are you supposed to do when she's like a teenager? You can't just be like, yeah, you should like leave. But I don't know. I feel like as a parent, I might in that scenario be a little bit relieved when she did leave on her own. I'd be like, okay.
I know, but the way she found out she was like still alive was so like scary. So how she found out is because her high school boyfriend that she pushed off a roof, allegedly, the girl he cheated on her with was found murdered. I mean, at this point, she's a woman, but that's how she was like, oh, Whitney's not gone. Whitney's still alive.
Yeah.
How wild to be like, yeah, my kid not only like pushed somebody off a roof, allegedly, like, I feel like that's enough deniability that maybe you could believe in your own brain that didn't happen, but then to have murdered somebody and like it's a confirmed like gruesome murder, like now you know your kid's just out there psycho.
At what point do you like call the cops on them though? Because like if you're sure that your daughter has now killed 2 people, wouldn't you be like, yeah, that's probably time to tell the cops? So
I would like to think that I would, because I would like to think that I would think that it's the best thing for my child to be safe and to not do that, because at a certain point you're just trying to protect their soul, right? But
read Saving Noah.
But yeah, we figure out that Krista's just crazy doing all these crazy things. Out of all the stuff that she did though, what did you think was the most manipulative or just like wild thing?
Dude, the way she I think the fish thing is hilarious. With the amount of gaslighting that woman did. She like just straight up was like, oh, our practice child died. And then like, I don't know, what, a month later, she like discovers the bleach in her own closet that she knows she put there. And she's like, oh my God, Blake, you killed our practice child. Oh my God. And then, I mean, I was clapping in the background reading that. I was like, wow, you go, girl. Way to make him feel insane.
That was wild. I think my craziest moment, and I feel like you should see this one coming, but I still didn't think she was like that far, was her like guy best friend. I don't remember his name.
Oh my God, yes.
What was his name?
Yeah.
Oh, unnamed man.
Unnamed
man who was like obsessed with her and would do anything she asked for. She was like, I'll just sleep with him and then slit his throat. Like,
yeah.
I almost forgot about it.
Why did we jump there?
Yeah.
Like, and she's like, well, he knows too much. He's known too much this whole time. He's obsessed with you. Like, you don't have to kill him.
I frankly thought he was going to try to kill her, report her, because they said that there was somebody sitting outside his apartment or whatever when she walked up with like a paper bag or something that they were drinking out of, I think.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, he said something because he was like trying to talk her out of it. And I was like, he's got a wire. And then I was like, whoa. And then it never happened.
But instead,
oh my gosh. Yeah, no. Yeah, that was wild. She really was like, I put him out of his misery in a good way.
He went out with a bang.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Insanity.
Yeah.
What about for you? What was the craziest?
It's so hard to pick. I think that it starts just with what she did with his job. Like, the fact that that's just what you go to in general. Yeah. I mean,
she's like, I'm burning it all down.
She ruined his life right there, then and there. And like, what do you do at that point? I mean, that just was wild. I was like, that required planning. That was just like, and she made a crap ton of money doing it.
Oh yeah. And that was her first original idea. Like, she wasn't originally going to bring in this tenant at all. She was just going to like get him so morally low and so out of money and then just dip. But then she was like, oh, I can manipulate him with this tenant and get back at this woman for stealing my identity.
It's just like a different level of
so
evil
crazy.
To be like, I'm going to mess with your mind. Like, I mean, the murder impulse, not much better.
Yeah. Oh, and the suicide note. That was wild. Oh my gosh. She was like, you're going to eat these cookies up.
I mean,
even
the cookies her like acting in that scenario is so good because his cookies are just out. She's not even offering them to him. And he's like getting ready to leave and he like looks longingly at them and she's like, you know what? Like, take a few for the road. Yeah. Like, it's not like she was there, like, here's some cookies. Like, I don't know. The way she is just like so psychotic is crazy.
Yeah. True sociopath or whatever.
Imagine if you were like Becky or Malcolm. And all this stuff comes out and you're like, I had a murderer living with us?
She made murder cookies in my
Yeah.
kitchen.
My God.
Speaking of them, did you guys ever suspect either of them?
Yeah.
Because they were my
They
other, they were my other people that I was like, Because
Yeah.
Krista, I was like, is that too obvious? And so that's where my mind went for the backup. Because I was like, he got his job. Like, what if she
Yeah.
doesn't like him for some reason? And I don't know. That was my other theory.
I thought that something might have been going on where he mentioned at some point when he briefly talked about his ex before, like we see her on the sidewalk or whatever later, he's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, and my ex, like things ended really bad there. So then I was like, okay, it's all about the ex. I was like,
Ooh, yeah.
maybe Krista is the ex's friend or something. And this is like the long game and the ex is behind everything. And then I was like, are we going to get into like plastic surgery or like people can't recognize each other or something? And then I was like, okay, I don't know what to expect. But these books can go a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I was like, the only thing that makes sense for Krista being involved is if her and Malcolm were in a relationship. And I wondered if he and Malcolm had beef.
Oh.
Somehow.
I partly thought that Malcolm was going to be like oblivious and it was going to be his wife who was doing this because he like got his job and still was like, hey, let's go grab drinks, which was like a weird situation. Then be like, hey, I have your job. Like, I don't know. I know he wasn't the one who brought it up, but I still was like, I almost would be like too uncomfortable and avoid that whole situation if I knew I took the job of this like friend of mine.
That's what made me think he was in on it and
Okay.
crazy because I thought he was like, let me just rub your nose in. I
I
want
thought he
to
was
see
just
it.
like,
Yeah. I don't know. This just goes back to me not trusting Blake the whole time, so I didn't trust anybody.
that's the fun part about Freida's books is you're just like calling into question every single person the whole
yeah.
time. Like you literally never know who to trust.
No.
Yeah.
Every single time at the end, I'm just like, not what I thought.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Speaking of the end, Amanda kind of drops. We get like one chapter, was it, of
Yeah.
Amanda's
Oh,
POV?
yeah.
And she's just like, oh, I was going to murder her anyway. Tee-hee. And I was like, what?
Oh yeah. She's like, did you really believe that my mom had cancer? Did
Yeah.
you really think that I got money from a bookie for my mom's cancer? I was like, oh man, I mean, I guess I did. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be something because like there's always a crazy epilogue, and I thought it was going to have to do with her. So I didn't trust that was her story, but I didn't know it was going to go that crazy that she was going
Yeah.
to be murdering Krista.
Yeah.
Like, that
Yeah.
was a wild.
I thought she was just
epilogue.
gonna be like on the run from like a bad boyfriend or something.
Okay.
I
like
thought
that.
so too. I thought she was like escaping like a super. I mean, that's not what happened, thank God. But I did not expect her to just be like, oh yeah, I was going to clear my debts by murdering her.
I don't know. The whole book was just such a ride.
So yeah, I think this book has a lot of like picture perfect or like very scenic movie clips that I can picture in my brain. What is your biggest like, oh, this would be in the trailer if there was a movie moment?
I almost feel like it'd be all the small like things that he's having happen to him because it'd be like I feel like the trailer would start out with like, oh, this couple has this roommate coming in, and then there'd be like, this is weird, my food's gone. Like there's flies,
Yeah.
there my noodles are hair. Like I feel like it'd be all of those things
Yes.
that build up to like build the suspense that would make me feel like I need to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there is so much that you know after you finish the book about like
Yeah.
Krista versus Whitney. I'd like to see some of the shots of Krista doing stuff behind the scenes as part of the
Ooh.
trailer, but like cutting her face out somehow.
Oh,
So you don't know who it
So you know it's a
is.
woman, but you don't know it's.
I don't know, something with that to make you
Yeah.
like,
That's
Yeah.
fun.
I feel like a great clip is like him discovering the blood and then the knocking on the door and just like cut.
oh,
I feel like that would be so
Oh,
good.
that's so good.
Yeah. Just like, oh, who's there? And then you could cut to her doing something. Oh,
Ooh.
oh.
Freida McFadden.
or that's how it ends is when
Ooh.
he's like getting caught with
Yeah.
the bloody tissue. Yeah.
Hire us to screenwrite the trailer. Like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
got this. This
We
is our
have
pitch
ideas.
for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of going back because I still, again, cannot wrap my head around how
Yeah.
crazy it was with the whole Krista versus Whitney versus Amanda versus also Whitney
Versus Blake.
versus everybody involved and everybody lying.
Mm-hmm.
Did it make you think at all about the people in your life? Like, how well do you really know people? Like,
Ooh.
because I mean, Blake and Krista were engaged.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
living together, and he has no idea that she's a psycho. She placed herself into his life, like you said, with the
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend that she got rid of.
Ooh.
I mean, my goodness, all he did was walk into the dry cleaner.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that there's more signs in real life.
I was
going to
say, I have chills now. I hope
yeah.
not.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. Has there ever been anybody in your life that you met and you were just like, that was not the person I thought they were, or they're so crazy? no names or anything, but like I feel like I've had that happen to me in my life with a handful of people where I'm just like, oh, wow.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, actually, I had in school some friends that like I was like, oh, you lie for fun. I didn't realize this is like what people like, because I've always been nothing but like, I mean, I try not to be anything but honest. And so when somebody tells me something, I like believe them. So yeah, that was definitely a hard lesson to learn as a child. But in my adult life, I feel like I just get like bad vibes from some people and just let it be that. Like I don't go into it more than that.
Yeah. See, I was homeschooled until high school, so I didn't experience the like actually learning that people are like that until high school. So I again won't name names, but there's one person in particular who was like that, like lie for fun. Yeah. And I don't think like they're out there killing people, but like
good point. Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. I think they're just a liar. But yeah, that was like a weird thing to discover at that age. Like, oh my God, people just like do that. Like I can't trust what you're saying. Like why are you saying? Like why are you lying to me?
And why are you looking me like so in the eyes and telling me such like details if it's a lie?
But then you find out later and you're like, why did you lie about that? Like that's such a stupid thing to lie about too.
No, and that's how it always is too. It's like once you catch it, you're like, why did you even start lying in the first place? Like what was the purpose in this? But some people really are just like compulsive liars and they will do anything. Like they don't know how to do anything else because they've lied so much.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so true. I feel like I blocked out those memories because not until you were like, I've had people like that. I was like, no, I've never. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. But it really just is that like weird capacity to lie. I mean, and again, maybe it's just rose-colored glasses or maybe you guys are also excellent liars or maybe I'm also an excellent liar. No one knows. But I really like to think that we're all honest people, like sitting and having honest conversations and genuine relationships with other people in our lives. But that's just like not the way the world works.
No. But that's the thing though. I feel like we all have clocked those people because it's like really easy to see through those lies eventually. Like even if you believe them for a little bit, unless there's people like Krista out there that are just so good at lying, you just like don't see it. And that's like its own scary thing that I like don't want to think about.
You know. Yeah, she was just gaslighting till the end.
Yeah. Would you have done anything differently if you were Blake? Because obviously he's being manipulated this entire time. So was there anything that he did or didn't do that you were like, that was dumb, I would have done better in that situation?
I definitely would have taken Dad up on his offer page. Like
so fair.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think if I was Blake, the thing that I might have done a little bit differently, and this, I guess, just comes from the different perspective of I have clearly a different dynamic with my partner than he did with Krista. But if I was going to Brandon and talking about how much something was bothering me, and then he didn't talk to me, like I would have broke up with Krista, you know, if I was Blake, if I wasn't getting the support and everything that I needed, I would have said, you know what, this is my brownstone. I'm going to sell it. Yeah. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You can do whatever you want. You are clearly fine with this situation or whatever. But like, I would have just got myself out of there completely.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like I just wanted him to trust his gut earlier because he was seeing all these things and then he talked to Krista and she'd be like, no, you're fine. And he'd be like, okay. But like, I feel like he needed to push it more with her instead of just letting her move past it constantly because it was building it up so much more in his head because he had nobody to talk to about it. He just felt like he was like an isolated person going through this horrible traumatic thing. And Krista was just brushing it off. So
he really was.
But he should have like pushed it. Like Paige said, either you break up with her or you are like, hey, no, like we're not just going to move past that. This is a big issue for me right now. Like you should support me.
We're all saying this with such like clear minds though. But like this all starts off with Blake getting called into an office saying, you sold company secrets. And he's like, no, I didn't. What do you mean? So everything flips on its head, like right away. His whole life is crumbling for who knows why. And his like from his perspective.
That's
so
true.
It's just so hard to get mad at. Like, he handled everything so well in some situations and so poorly in others.
Yeah.
But poor guy was just struggling the whole time.
And his life is like, as you said, it's like falling apart right now. So I could see not wanting to just be like strong, independent guy, like break up with your fiance. Like he's probably trying to just hold on to what he has left because
he's just trying to wake up.
He had like the life he wanted and now it's like piece by piece getting taken from him. So he's like, hold up, let's just like sit here for a minute and not have anything else crazy happen.
I'm just gonna hold on to my brownstone. I'm white knuckling through life.
I'm doubling down. Dude, Tyler listened to this with me and he could not get over the fact that he was like, wait a minute. All they need to get by is a waitress salary. why isn't he just waitering? He was like, what the heck? Why is
Wait, that's so funny.
he was so like,
because he needed that VP job.
he wanted something better, It was too beneath him to do, which is.
Well, he was like in between jobs for a while too, I think. Like he didn't have a job for a little bit there.
Yeah.
He could have gotten something temporary like that, but yeah.
Temporary wasn't
Crazy.
good enough for him.
Yeah.
No, yeah, he hated his temp job.
So many options. So many options. I just can't believe the way this book played out.
Yeah, it was wild.
What would you guys rate it?
Goodness. As a whole, I would probably rate the book 4 out of 5. But if I had to do part 1 versus part 2, I just wish part 1 had been like a little bit shorter. I might have given it a 3 instead of a 4. But I really liked the way that it built everything up. I just wanted the shoe to drop a little bit faster or to have more clues to go on, because I really felt like I was just searching for something and couldn't find anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I did give it a 3 on Goodreads. I do think maybe it's just coming off that last book was so novella-y and I ate it up so fast. And I did feel like the start of this book was a little slow, but I do like it. It is, as soon as the twist happens, I'm like all in, and you can't stop it after that point.
No. Yeah, that's funny you say that about like the last book you read, because my situation was like reversed, because I read Freida's last book, The Crash, and I did not love that one. Like, it was really not my favorite. So this felt like it was back to normal Freida for me, and I was like, this is so good. Like, I did not have high expectations, I should say. I still gave The Crash like a 3.5 or something. But Freida's one of my very favorite thriller authors, so I was like all about this one. I think I'm gonna rate it like in the high 4s, honestly, like 4.5 or 0.75. But yeah.
Nice.
Let us know what you guys thought about the book too. We really enjoyed it, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to be reading Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell next month. Tune in on our YouTube, our Instagram, our TikTok to check out the full podcast or some short clips for fun moments throughout. But we hope to see you next time on Books and Bubbles.
Cheers.